Okay, we have a recording, we've got a transcript. Before I start with the rest of the overview part of this training, are there any questions that I need to explain about? Somebody changed it to Spanish again. Don't do that, please. Otherwise, we get the chaos in the transcript, things that cannot be fixed, and after that you cannot change, or you cannot pull the transcript through Google Translate or something like that. So please leave the language of the transcript in English. Like I said, are there any questions that need answering before we continue to the new materials? If not, let's do it like we did before. Give me a thumbs up. I'm in a different room at the moment, so you see a different background to start with. I don't have my webcam right over there. I have it on my laptop only, so you will see me sometimes look a little bit skewed when it comes to my screens, because this is my bigger screen. But if I share that one, you won't be seeing it, or at least not be able to read it. So I saw a thumbs up. That means that we can start with the training. Let me toggle to my Outlook. So far, we've been looking at, and why are you doing this every time? So far, we've been playing around and looking at Connect. I've shown you the user interface. We onboarded a new vendor. That vendor I will use for the rest of this training, for the rest of these demonstrations. Whereas I have a separate account for the training of your colleagues in the different time zone sessions. We talked about the contract flow. I showed you two ways to onboard a vendor. One way was if you have an actual new vendor to the platform, new to the platform vendor, you can send him a link, an invitation that he just clicks, and then he starts creating his own account. The first person to log in is the person that is the full admin of that account. The other way to onboard a vendor was if the vendor is already on the platform. So it is the Acronuses, it is etc. etc. The only thing you need to do there is to invite them to link up with you. So that's a different way of doing it. You have to not add a vendor, but you had to, let's say, you create a contract. On the partners page, there were a couple of tabs, if I'm correct, 4. And the new vendor was on the first tab on the directory of partners. And the second method started with that option of creating a new contract. If you want to, you can first create an agreement, because you would need an agreement for this to work. And of course, if there are no agreements yet, you have to create one first before you can create a contract on top of it. The agreement is bound to the marketplace. The agreement is bound to where the products of that vendor will be sold. That's a key thing. So now that we have that relationship between the distributor and the vendor, the next step is, of course, to get products on board. And to get products on board, again, we need to look at a couple of terms, of words, of concepts that we need to know first. So now we talk about the product flow. Something I already showed you yesterday is the catalog. I will quickly go through it again, but the catalog is a key thing here. Something else we need to look at is the product. we look at pricing, and for some of you that might come as a surprise, because we just said in Monday's session that pricing, Connect does not handle billing events. So why is there pricing? Well, this is pricing as MSRP. These are things where you can suggest prices to our to your distributors as a vendor, right? We look at listing. Listing is, where do you want that product to show up, in which marketplace? First in test, at later in production, and maybe not in one but in multiple marketplaces. And then we're going to look at offers. Again, those are suggestions on how to set up the products. The downside of both pricing and offers is that it seems like this is something that is also imported the moment we import the product into a commerce environment. The problem is that's not true. Pricing and offers are here for suggestions, nothing more, nothing less. If you import your product into a commerce environment, you will see that you have to do that work completely in commerce. Of course, as a vendor, I can create what we call the PPR file, which means that basically your offers, as you would present it in Connect, are set up in an Excel sheet in a way that allow the commerce platform owner, the distributor in this case, to quickly import that PPR file into the product lifecycle manager, and it will generate all those offers automatically. And but it doesn't take anything from offers. I know that the product team is still considering the offers part to be also imported. The downside is that it has very low priority, because the functionality of that PPR file and PLM, etc., is something that works very well for now, is probably a little bit easier to maintain than going back to the offers at vendor side. And thus, the need to create that import part for pricing as well as offers has been diminished drastically. But let's look at all the items that we have. The key thing to look at is the catalog. And the catalog, I already showed you, is something that is present at the distributor level. So here I am logged in as a distributor, the standard distributor that I use all the time. I can go to my catalog and I can select which catalog to use. And from there on, I can I can enroll. Import is the next step. I can enroll into a relationship with that vendor. Enrolling simply means, hey, I want to start setting up that relationship from a technical perspective. Of course, the whole story that we discussed earlier on Monday about one-on-one relationships, talking about contract terms and conditions, pricing, wholesale pricing, what discounts do you get, what thresholds might there be for those discounts, happens again outside of the platform. What I see here is just the follow-up step of those negotiations, and enrolling simply means that we start to onboard the technical side of the story. Some items might be private, as you see here. That might be because this is shared by you. Not sure why that would happen. Come on, man. I'm getting annoyed for being on the wrong or in a different location. It pops up everything on my secondary screen, which on my normal spot, that doesn't happen. So again, what is the catalog? Well, the catalog, let's define it, is the list of products available for the distributor. And that sounds a little bit weird, but what do we mean with that? This is the catalog of the Cloud Blue entity. Besides that, if you want, you can also enroll in syndication with Ingram Micro. In that case, you will have that second option as well. But this is only because we have set up our demo environment to be both linked to Cloud Blue itself, that is the standard, but also to be in syndication with our mother Ingram Micro Cloud, where they have their own set of products. Some of these products might be interesting for you to know about. Some of the products that you see in Ingram Micro Cloud catalog will only be there because we have secured, let's say, the sole contract, distribution contract for those products using Connect. In that case, you will not find them in the Cloud Blue catalog, meaning that you can only do those contracts through a syndication relationship with Ingram Micro. Another thing that might be of interest to know is that syndication is not necessarily always only with Ingram Micro Cloud. We have set up recently a couple of architectures, let's call it, where in that country, that the specific customer for the Cloud Blue Commerce environment did not have the rights to sell Microsoft. There was a local entity, not being Ingram Micro Cloud, that had that right. These two already had a relationship because they were already selling Microsoft through that syndication partner. And I'm calling it a syndication partner because now we have built it into a syndication relationship into Connect. So in that case, there might even be a third option here where we have Cloud Blue, Ingram Micro Cloud, and another syndication partner. That other syndication partner has its own set of products, and they can publish them as a sort of catalog as well. Which means that I still, as a distributor, in this case now a reseller, I get to choose which of that product set I want to start selling as well. And of course, the choice could be in favor of that syndication scenario because you don't have the rights to do that. It could also mean you do it because you don't want to have the hassle of negotiating a contract. You already have a contract with that syndication partner, and you also heard that getting a direct contract with that specific vendor could take 3, 4, 5 months, where from a syndication partner perspective, you could start selling next week. Again, another reason that comes close to shorter time to market. Of course, in the meantime, you could even decide on going into that negotiation with that vendor itself. But there are several reasons to go to market with a syndication upstream partner. Speed being one sometimes. So the catalog, like I said, is not only what we have as Cloud Blue. It could be something that Ingram Micro Cloud has, but it could also mean that you have a catalog from a upstream distributor that you want to start selling. All those three we call catalogs, and they will show here as individual options. Cloud Blue, Ingram Micro Cloud, and then maybe a third one here. Let me show you how it would look from such a perspective. And I think that there we are. That is the item. So this is a reseller that I created as a syndication partner. In this case, this syndication partner downstream does not have any relationship with Cloud Blue, does not have any relationship with Ingram Micro Cloud. So the only thing I see here are the 3, 4, what is it? 6 products that my upstream distributor is selling. And guess what? That upstream distributor is the test distributor for education. How did I set it up? By going to my products list and defining a group called a private catalog, and which there's one product in there. We don't have a, and this is, there's no, let me quickly scan, group pack. Here we have 2 products in there that 10 resellers have access to. And this is Eric's products where we have 4. And which resellers are in there? Test reseller. Here you see them. And here is my syndication test reseller. This is the one that I just showed you. In this case, I created 2 groups. Let me go back to my products and groups. We've got Eric's products in there and we've got Grupo Pack. So I both distribute them to the same entity. Why would I create multiple groups? Because maybe for some resellers of mine, I just want to start reselling Eric's products. For some others, maybe Grupo Pack. And of course, if we have a reseller that requires both, I just delegate those 2 groups to those resellers. In that case, that reseller can only sell products from these groups after he enrolled, and then he can start setting up his products, etc., etc. So products and the catalog is not just, hey, we've got a list from Cloudblue and that is where things come from. The catalog could be any upstream distributor that allows me to sell, and the catalog of Cloudblue is actually not an upstream distributor. They just make sure that the vendor is visible. So if you onboard, I'm in the test distributor. Let me go to the catalog again. Let's wait for this to happen. If you go to the Cloudblue catalog, it just lists all products that we have available. If you enroll directly to the vendor, not to a syndication with Cloudblue. This is in syndication with Ingram Micro Cloud. This is with direct access to different vendors. We can have a private inventory or a wholesale catalog. Was that a question? Okay. So we can have a private catalog inventory. That is that private catalog that I just showed you in that reseller for syndication setup. Then we've got the product. What is a product? Well, we understand the product as software or a service that is provisioned, fulfilled, or manufactured by a vendor. As a vendor, we can create products in Connect. As a distributor, we can only read the information. So what is very important in this part? The product is key in Connect. The whole platform moves around that product. If we provide great product information, everything else runs without problems. But what is product information? Product information is, here we are, the definition of the items that are there. So we have a couple of sections in our product definition, and I'm going to create one in a second, that require, I would say, not only technical information, but also marketing information. because that whole bunch of information of data, that whole block of data is considered the product. We have general information like what product are we talking about? What is the description? And that description should, of course, be something that makes it appealing for distributors to start selling that product. Maybe we also want to add marketing collateral to the product so that the distributor has everything together, images, etc., etc. So you don't see at distributor sides bloaty pictures because they have taken them from another website and they wanted to put an icon or an image with the product in their marketplace, but they did not get the nice HD images that you have, or marketing videos to use in their commercial advertisements. Mind you, these images and video will not be imported into commerce, but if you put them in the product in the vendor side, the distributor will see them, he can download them, and he can use them wherever he wants. If he wants to create a marketing campaign with videos on Facebook, on TikTok, or whatever, those videos, of course, you want to be your videos. You want to make sure that the videos that are showing there are the ones that you have approved and not something that they create with bad imagery or with a different message behind it, etc., etc. You cannot prevent that completely, but at least you can hand them something that you would want. Capabilities. It says here aspects of product distribution and product offering procedure. What do we mean with that? A capability would be this product only contains licenses, or what we call reservation items, things that you prepay and there's no hidden cost. It could also mean that those items and capabilities include also items a little bit. These two are highly interconnected. This product is partial pay-as-you-go. There is some storage component in the cloud where we charge you per gigabyte. The rest is clear, is reservation, is license, but there are a couple of things that are pay-as-you-go. All those capabilities needs to be set, and if it and of course are of importance for your customers. Then we've got the items. The items are the things that the customer really buys. So Office 365 Enterprise E5 license, that's an item. That's a prepaid item. That's a reservation item, as we call it. Sometimes for provisioning, we require specific extra additional information on top of the customer's information, right? The customer has a customer account with an address and stuff like that. But let's say we're going to ship laptops. And when we ship those laptops, we want to know what the shipping address is. We have seen that the addresses in the database, in our commerce database or whatever, is postal office addresses, PO boxes. You cannot ship a laptop to a PO box. So we want to have a shipping address. That if that shipping address is the same as the customer address, we might still request it again. Another thing that you could use in this case might be, for instance, a domain name. For whatever reason, we require a domain name. A domain name is not part of the customer information in commerce. So that's what we call a parameter. On the other side, there might also be information that we want to send back to the customer. And send back to the customer, let's say, without a distributor being in the middle. It might be confidential information, or it might be important information where you don't want to encounter a delay. in that case, those parameters come in handy. I will show you how to use them in a very silly example, but I'm going to give you an idea of what a parameter can do. And then we have embedding. Embedding is, as it says here, control panel integrations. What does that mean? It simply means that in your product, you define what the customer will see in his UX1 panel in a couple of different scenarios. Different scenarios as in when the customer just ordered the product. It's not provisioned yet, so we want to show him that we have seen that it has been ordered. There might be a reason why we have to ask for extra information from the customer. This is where we go back to that parameter item here. For instance, because the customer did not place the order himself, he called customer support of the distributor. The distributor placed the order, but for instance, the customer needs to also leave his credit card number. You cannot expect a customer to tell that credit card number to the person on the phone. So the person on the phone skips that field, but places the rest of the order. In that case, of course, we need to somehow have a capability for that customer to type in his own credit card in the control panel. We call that the inquiring state, meaning that, hey, we need to have more information from you. We cannot provision without that. What do we say there on that page? What is the text that we put there? What is the link that we give him to feed that information, etc.? And of course, there might be some kind of page that you want to display when everything is up and running. Besides those attributes, a product has versions. A product has versions because products evolve, right? That's, I hope, not a strange thing for you. So the idea of when you onboard a product onto Cloud WooCommerce is that you always have the latest version. So whatever happens, you can, in this case, not mistake and use a version that is half a year old, unless that is the latest one, right? You always onboard the latest version, and it is possible to localize your product. Localize your product, which simply means that as a vendor, I can already add let's say the texts to display in a Spanish UI or in a Portuguese UI or in the Dutch UI. You can do that. The thing is that the distributor can override this. For instance, if there are differences, and let's be honest, I know that the majority of South America speaks Spanish. Okay, let's Brazil, I've got another example in a second, but the languages Spanish are a little bit different from Argentina to Chile, etc., etc. So you do a standard Spanish locale as a vendor, and then each distributor might fine-tune it to fit the language that he wants to present. Of course, he could leave it standard Spanish, but he could also override it with the very specifics for Chilean or for Argentina, etc., etc. The same thing would happen when we talk about Portugal and Brazil. It is still Portuguese, but it's a little bit different. And that means that I, as a vendor, can do a Portuguese locale. And if there are things different, either in Portugal or Brazil, depending on where it has been created for, I can, as a distributor, fine-tune it to my desire. And I think that is a very powerful thing. That makes it easier for the distributor to onboard a localized product where they only have to, let's say, override the very specific things that are not according to the desire of that distributor, where the rest can stay the same. So where do I find my products in the environment? And here I'm pulling up the vendor account that I created on Monday, AMX demo. And of course, there is a products option there. At this point, there is no product yet. So I can create a product from this button, or I can create a product from that button. If there is a product, of course, only this button is there. It doesn't matter. I'm using it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a product. And the primary locale, what I always do in this case is I'm using English. And especially American English. Why am I doing that? Because the platform has the capability to use the Azure translation features to automatically translate into different languages, where I, again, only need to tweak it to my desire. And I've noticed that from English to any language works. From British English or Australian English, it doesn't always work well, or sometimes it even does not work at all. So that is why I would suggest anybody creating a product here that might not be native to the language that you want to create it for, use English and then use the translator features later to make it work. I'm coming back to this a little bit later. So this is the product that I create. And in this product, we have, and you see there's a lot of standard stuff in there. Here's that: remove this text before publishing your product. Remember the product lifecycle manager scenarios that we had in the commerce training, where I said, hey, this is the standard text. This is why I know it's the standard text, because I've seen it so often. If you want to set up a product, I would say start doing this, because my experience is that after you've set up the product completely, this is the last thing you think about of fixing. So I've seen some products in production where they forgot about this initially. So we go back and tell them, hey, this is not certified because you still have the standard text in. Oh yeah, thank you. So go in here, edit this. There is a lot of layout and makeup possibilities. I can put in links, I can put in images, I can do a preview, but make sure it is up to date. I'm going to do a simple one. I'm going to say, just put in something to identify this, and then I can come back later, or I can decide that this is enough. There's another thing here. If I click edit here, there is the short description. Tell me. Was that a question?
Sorry.
No. Okay, good. So this is also a description. So I'm going to, again, do the same thing, and I'm going to edit this part. Just making sure that it's not the standard text. Under here, we can also add media. The media of the movies, if I click add, I can do either an image or a video. I can drag them here, or I can click and browse. And I can add logos. If I click edit, it allows me to upload an image. Let me see if I can still do that, if I have some stuff available. I forgot to prep that. Nope. Let's go there. Here. Now, takes too long to figure it out quickly. So I'm going to skip these steps. Come on. But you can upload your images. Here we see the size. It's 128 by 128 pixels. So you can quickly have somebody create a logo for your product, or you build one yourself, or you go to the icon stores online and get something that is relevant for you. So that is where we have the media. At the bottom, there is a settings option, and this is where we have what we call those capabilities. Does this product support administrative hold? Administrative hold means we suspend the subscription and we resume it again. The alternative is that we treat, if we want to stop the subscription for the customer, we treat it as a stop at the end of the subscription. From a commerce perspective, we do the call, no problem. The thing is that it might be that that service terms on your side can, let's say, differentiate between a suspend and a stop. A stop being at the end, and a suspend is a temporary thing. But you have to tell if the product itself, and the product, with the product we mean the product on your side, the Microsoft side, the Dropbox side, etc., if that one supports administrative hold, or actually hold, a suspend and resume. If it doesn't, make sure it's switched off. If it does, make sure it's switched on. Why? Because the integration that we are doing look at this setting, and we either call a stop of the service or we call a suspend of the service. And if the suspend command is not accepted by the API, Connect thinks that it's done, or it will throw an error, and commerce now does not function correct anymore. Or commerce thinks that everything is happening and everything is happy, where the service is still accessible. So that's an important one. Reservation items. Do we support consumption there? Normally, a reservation item is something you pay for and that's it. There is no consumption at that level for the most of those items. So if you somehow want to still report that consumption just for information, you have to switch it on. Do we have pay-as-you-go in this product? For Azure, it's only pay-as-you-go, right? And if it's only Office 365, pay-as-you-go is off. And so there are more options. I'm not going through all of them. That's more for developers training. But there are a couple of things that when you create a product, look into it, think about what is my product support on that side. And then we get to the items. And a key thing is that in our product, every standard thing, there are 2 standard items, just to show you how it would look. The downside is that when you have done this once and you've played around with it, it's very annoying that they are there, because now you have to first throw them away and then start creating new things. Delete. Delete. So there we are. And now I can start creating items. I'm going to do that a little bit later. So don't worry, we will come to that. Parameters, 2 types, and embedding. We will cover all that when I start creating my product. But I want to first look at the difference between my product and my item. What is a product now and what is an item? Well, let's look at a very silly, but I think very simple example. For us, a product could be a shirt, a t-shirt in this case. So what are we talking about? The product is a shirt. But if I go, for instance, into town, and for me, this exactly aligns with how I would treat it in daily life. Let's say summer's coming, sun is shining outside at the moment here. Summer's coming and I need some new t-shirts. Remember how I said that? I need some new t-shirts. I did not speak about colors. I did not speak about sizes. I need some t-shirts. So the product that I'm going to buy is t-shirts. The thing is that, of course, you don't just buy any t-shirt. I mean, you might not like the color, the size might not be good, etc., etc. So those are the actual items that we have. And in this case, you see it split up between blue shirts and red shirts. And below that, we've got the sizes. And those sizes are the actual items. When I come home, after I decided that I need to buy some shirts, I come home and I proudly tell the family, hey guys, look at what a cool red XXL t-shirt I bought. Or what a cool extra large blue shirt I bought. When I go into town, I don't know what I'm coming home with, right? It's a shirt. I'm going to buy t-shirts. When I come home, I can say, okay, I bought these items. One blue XL t-shirt, extra large, and a red extra large. Different brands, so different sizes. So that is the difference between the product, which is the concept, and the actual item is the thing that I come home with, that I put in my cart. So that's the difference between the product and the item. Or it could be a specific service where we have three flavors of the service: basic, professional, business, where we can buy each of those services on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, on an annual basis. The items are now the bottom objects. I am going to buy an annual business license. So I'm buying this item. Let me get a pen out there. I'm buying this item. This is the difference between a product and an item. So if you are building something for yourself, as your own product, you have to decide, okay, what is the product? What is the service? What is the object, the generic object? Storage? Is it disk space? Is it? And then you have to break it down into the actual SKUs that you're selling. Basic service, monthly. Basic service, annual. Pro, monthly. Pro, annual, etc. And those items you create. And in this case, it means that you will find two objects. You find a professional yearly and you find a professional monthly product. If you remember well from the product lifecycle management training, the structure, the product structure in Connect is a flat structure. So we have a pro monthly and we've got another SKU that is pro yearly. Again, product lifecycle management will convert that into something that commerce understands. One of the things is pricing. I already said it. This is a tricky part because, again, this confuses a lot of people. They think that these prices that I said here are automatically imported into commerce. That's not true. These are suggested prices. Suggested prices where the customer, in this case, the partner, the distributor, can see what the suggested retail price is. It's not the price that will be imported into commerce. You have to set those prices manually yourself. But we can define multi-tier pricing if needed. As I said, this is how we can communicate suggested retail pricing. This is not the way, again, to get those prices into commerce. It's just suggested retail price. Again, this is driven by the vendor. There's a lot when it comes to this product driven by the vendor. The vendor's side for pricing or for products is read and write. The distributor side is read only. So I don't want to spend too much time on, let me go back one. Come on. On pricing, for the simple reason that from your side, it's not that relevant to discuss because you have commerce on top of it where the prices are set separately. What is important for you to know is the story about listing, because without the vendor asking you to list the product, and actually that's a little bit a tricky scenario, because in the product, let me see. Oh no, it is part of this one, because it is requesting that listing update. Without a listing, the product is simply not available. It could be a single product, it could be for the group of product, but I need to have a listing for my product before it is showing on the distributor side. What has to happen is the vendor asks for a listing. It is a listing request. Hey, do you want to list this product? Then the distributor has to basically accept that listing. And after that, the distributor has to do a second step. That means that they have to create, and let me quickly go to my other browser and to a product that I have in there. Let's go to products. Let's take this one. This is a good one. They not only should have a listing here where it is showing. Here we see that it's listed in 3 marketplaces, but I also have to set up what we call a connection to a specific hub. So I can list it for multiple marketplaces, but only show it or connect this product to 2 of the hubs for those marketplaces. And in this case, you see it's all production. So first you list, the distributor accepts it. Then the distributor also has to, let's say, connect the products to the different, in this case, a hub is a marketplace, right? So, or is a Cloudbook commerce instance to the respective commerce instances so that they can be sold. Here we have the diagram of how to go from a product to a listing. What we have here in the product, we do request listing. The vendor accepts it. And then that vendor can use the price list and the offers option in that product. As I said, the offers option in the product, again, is more of a suggestion of how to set up those products. If you are only working with commerce-based entities, you don't need price lists, you don't need offers, because the pricing is not imported and the offers are created using that PPR file that you should obtain from the vendor after you have onboarded the product. either from the vendor or, let's say, from our side, if we have created that product. So here we have that offers as well. Establishment and configuration of offers. What features are we selling together? What items are we selling together? And what would they cost, etc., etc. So the offer would be the, I would almost say the replacement of the service plan in commerce. Something like this, where we have for two offers, we've got a home product, we've got a business product, and we've got for each of them, we have a basic, a standard, and premium option, where we include specific things and we bind the price to it. So what I'm going to do is I want to build this in a demonstration. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to review the current catalog. We have done that a couple of times already. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand on creating that product. So let me go to my vendor side and use that empty product. What I'm going to build is I'm going to build a product called laptops for rent. And let me sketch the use case first. We're going to offer a wide variety of devices. We will also sell some extra items like cloud service, storage, or refurbished products. So you rent a laptop, and when those laptops come back, we refurbish them and we can sell them. So those are separate scenarios. I see a hand up. Tell me, Ana Paula.
Chat.
All right.
Loads of questions in there.
What kind of permission do I have to be able to create new products in Connect? It's fairly simple. You need to have access to the vendor portal, not the distributor. That's the first thing. And you need to have access to the, you have to have the permission for the products module, nothing more.
Products module, okay.
Yeah, because per module, we only give you access to the module, which means you have full access to that module. I'm not going to give you read only or create or whatever. In the vendor side, you can create products if you have access to that specific module, nothing more.
Okay, so where can I get the list of modules?
Here.
Let me get a screenshot, just a second.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just because they asked me what do I need access and to, and I have no idea, so thank you.
Yep.
I just put this in the chat for if anyone wants that.
Yeah. Too. Perfect. Let me go to the next question. Where are we? Here we are. What if I have a product with a resource with 3 different billing periods initially? Is it really mandatory to have 3 items in Connect? It depends on if you want to consolidate on the vendor side as well. If you want to see as a vendor, how did we sell this? Did we sell this for monthly? Did we sell this on 3 monthly or whatever? Yes, absolutely. If you just say, okay, let's go and we would just create something. It's always monthly billing, but we can subscribe to it for a month, for a year, or for 3 years, and we will take care of that in commerce. It is not mandatory. The thing is that if you subscribe from commerce, we will send the end date of the subscription. However, if you buy things from another platform, so another marketplace that has an extension like AWS Marketplace or Azure Marketplace or whatever, they might not do that. And in that case, it might be of importance for ending the subscription and for auto renewing the subscription, etc., to know at vendor side what the subscription period actually was. In that case, it's important to do it. You need to have three items there.
So it's not mandatory. Like if I just want to give options like different prices for different periods, and it's not important for the vendor, it's just me doing that. So I can just keep one item.
Like I said, if this is just for your own usage with your own commerce on top of it, one item is enough.
Okay.
The thing is that
I was just worried
if you
that
want to
it would be mandatory, to be honest.
Yeah, no. It makes life easier to at least prepare for multiple items. So I would at least use the naming convention that we covered in the product lifecycle management training, because it allows you to later down the life cycle of this product in Connect to add those additional items and separate them using product lifecycle manager.
Okay.
And if you add a period, like I said, if this is just for CBC, don't bother. Just go into commerce in that PPR file and make sure you add that specific subscription period. If it is again for future use for those other marketplaces that we can integrate with, it's not a problem. You just add it in Connect on the Connect side and publish a new version of the product, and they will automatically see that there is something new, and they can import the product to that marketplace and add that subscription period.
Thanks.
Calls for actual execution for providing, unproviding, enable, disable. We don't see it in this training because we don't have it. You have to build that integration in code yourself. So
I know, but I have it to inform it somewhere, right? In Connect.
Yeah. And that is one of the things we will do in the dev training.
It's in the dev training. Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
Because we started seeing the configuration of the product here, and then we were talking about administrative hold and stuff, and then I thought, okay, it's a little mixed up with the technical stuff. So I was trying to set the boundaries.
Got it. No problem.
Thank you.
So let's move. Where were we? We were talking about the vendor. Let me go to my browser. Let's pull this one in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new item. And in this case, I'm going to call it a basic laptop. Let's call it a basic laptop. And here we are. This is where that MPN can align with the naming convention. What was it again?
Good question.
That was the one. Underscore, then the subscription period, P1M. This is a monthly subscription with monthly payments. And I don't create anything else. What is it? It's the billing period is 1 month. And I'm not going to do any commitment because this is monthly subscription. And well, there are a lot of options here of unit of measure. But I want to say, hey, you buy a laptop, right? So what is the unit of measure? That's laptops. It's not there. Look at it. This is where the L is. There's licenses, mailboxes, messages. So nothing there. If you don't like the units of measure that are there, just type it. Create. Here we are. That's the first one. Let me add another item. Let me do another basic laptop. This one is basic underscore P1Y colon monthly. So now we have that same device with an annual subscription and a monthly payment. Next, in this case, I want an annual commitment. And look what happened. That laptop that I just typed is now there on top. So I can add per vendor my own unit of measure, if that is logical. Create. Oh, the object already exists, of course. There we go. Next. Laptop. Create. There we are. Maybe I should edit this item. Monthly. Save. Of course, I can add another basic laptop, annual, with a billing frequency of 1 year. I don't like that. But what I can do is I can create a, let's say, high-end laptop monthly. And this is high-end underscore P1 M colon monthly. Next. Again, this is a laptop. And I'm going to do the last one, which of course is the high-end laptop. And this is high-end colon, underscore P1Y colon annual. Probably this will still work. Next, where the commitment is 1 year. And it's a laptop again. So now we have a product. Strange, basic. We've got 2 types of laptops. In the description, I could specify that it is 1 gig, 2 gigs, memory, what kind of video card, storage, etc., etc. In other words, what makes this a high-end and what makes this a basic laptop. So those are the items. So I can order that. What I can do is I can do a preview. And I can try to order the product. There is only one product. That's why there is an arrow here. I did not have any plans set up, no offers set up. So this part also has an arrow. And I can walk through this. Let's do that. This is vendor internal test. It does not give me any other options. Logical, because it hasn't been published yet. There is no, it's all only a draft. There is only one product. And through which of the 3 marketplaces am I going to try to sell it? This is just mimicking that I have a relationship with these 3 marketplaces. This is almost a reminder. I'm going to do it through the Dutch marketplace. There are no price lists. There are no offers. So these pages will be showing anyway, but with the options that I have. In this case, there are no options, so it has the no price list and no offers automatically selected. It asks me for which customer. Well, there is a test customer created always. If not, on the let me show you that. Let me go to the other browser. Where are we? Customers here. There is a customers tile where I can add my own customer if there isn't anyone pre-created. I have seen it once or twice that a vendor account has been created without the system creating a test customer. So in that case, you have to go in and play around with it. Next, this is the information from the customer. You see not everything is filled out. This is the mandatory stuff. I get to select items. In this case, 80 basic laptops is quite a lot. This is monthly, so I can toss this away and I can add items manually. I can order multiple things, or I can order a single thing. Let's say I want to have an annual basic laptop and I don't need 30. One is enough. Next, some attributes. Basically, this is my normally in an order coming from commerce. The external ID would be the customer ID from commerce, and the UUID, external UUID, will be the APS ID from commerce as well. And then we've got subscription parameters. Doesn't have ordering parameters. This is where I want to stop the preview, because I first want to explain to you what ordering parameters are. So I'm going to cancel. And you see there is an option called ordering parameters. Ordering parameters are those items that are not, let's say, sent to us in the customer information. Customer information has a lot of stuff there. It has addresses, it has phone numbers, it has email addresses, customer account names, etc., etc. But for instance, when there is a specific shipping address, let's say the use case of COVID, let's say COVID, and the company is forcing people to work from home, and not everybody has a laptop yet. So what the company is doing, they're ordering laptops, and they want to, of course, ship them to the home address of their employees, which means, of course, they have to go through the process one by one or do it through an API call and place those orders with, for each individual laptop, an ordering or a shipping address. So what I can do is I can add those parameters here. This is a question that is asked on ordering. So this is what the customer feeds the system. This could be an address, right? Shipping address. To make it a little bit easier, there are other options. Email, or just a single line text. Maybe something that needs to be engraved or something like that, right? I order an iPad and I want that engraving on the back. Don't know if you've seen those things. That could be an ordering parameter. I can say none, or I can say, hey, yeah, I want that. It costs me $5 or whatever more, and then there's this nice engraving on the back of my iPad that says this thing belongs to Eric, or congratulations, whatever. But you see, there is a lot possible. I'm going to do an address, and in this case, the default country will be the Netherlands. Next. Question is this required? Is it read-only? Is it hidden? Let's make it easy, because this is quite a lot of work to fill it out. Let's take a single line text. I get a placeholder there. in text. It looks like that, right? This one is required. Should it be unique, yes or no? I'm coming to that question in a second. To those questions in a second. Does it have to be unique? Depends, right? Depending on what thing it is that we are looking for. If it's read only, you fill it out once, and after that you cannot change it. I could make it changeable. If I do a change order, I change my phone number, right? That could be a thing. And hidden, for instance, when there is extra logic. So it's hidden until another field is filled out. In that case, you have to build that logic into your connection, etc. Does it depend on something? So here we are. We can set specific dependencies. Depends on the previous parameter. Which means that if it is hidden, you can turn off hidden. Or sorry, if it's hidden, you can turn hidden off if this parameter has a certain value. Next, and then we are specifying the details. And the description. There we go, create. So now I can go to the details. It is required, nothing unique, etc. So ordering parameter is the same concept we have in CBC. It's even more similar. One of the things we do is during the ordering process in Cloud WooCommerce, this screen where it requires this parameter will show up. If this part is done by, let's say, a reseller employee, so we're talking about assisted sales, this is where in the reseller marketplace, the reseller can select, let the customer decide. In that case, an email goes out to the customer to force filling out of this ordering parameter. Does that answer your question, Ana Paula?
Yes.
Okay. And those parameters will be sent to CBC subscription parameters later on. Well, not later on. They are placed. They are set there during the order placement, Claudio. That means that during order placement, we first feed it to Commerce, and then we feed it to Connect. So it's not even later on. They will be fed to Cloud WooCommerce during that ordering process, because that is where the order is generated. Would that answer your question, Claudio? Good, good. So we have ordering parameters. We can also have another ordering parameter. What I like to do sometimes is play around with this. What is this? This is a choice. And what are we going to do here? And in the details, this is which shipping method do you want? Do you want standard shipping? Do you want UPS? Do you want DHL? Do you want whatever do you want, right? And you cannot select multiple, but we only offer you 2 or 3. The option label, maybe I should not make any typos today. I've got thick fingers, Control A. And the value is standard. And there we go. Maybe do that. Since this is a choice, we need a default option. Another option we could do here is a drop-down. A drop-down gives you nothing, and then the customer has to select something. With a choice, there needs to be one selected at all times. So that's why it tells me that at least one default value is required. Difference with a drop-down here, the options are there. At least two choices are required. We have two choices, so I'm not sure why he doesn't do that. Let's go back to the choice. And let's say standard shipping is the default. Next. And of course, this is required. Why can I not say this, set this? Because it's presented to me where there is already a choice. That's why I set a default. Next. Dependencies, nothing. Details. And I can put in a description if I want to create. That's it. So now I have two ordering parameters. If I go back and do my preview, quickly go through this. Vendor internal for the Dutch marketplace. No prices, no offers. For the test customer, next. Next. Select items. Let's get basic laptop monthly. That's good. Let's do one. Next. Next. Here we are. Your phone number. It's mandatory, and your shipping choice. And we are going to say plus 31 6 533 0809. Create. Here we go. We have set up a subscription, or at least a request for a subscription. I'm going to go through this a little bit later on how this works and what statuses there are, etc., etc. We will do that after the break that is about to come. But I want to show you that now I have my control panel. Please wait while your request is being fulfilled. I have one quantity of the basic underscore P1M monthly object, which means it's the basic laptop monthly. There is no pay-as-you-go, and that I have ordering parameters. And if I want to approve this, it will fail. Title of a subscription. Oh, I need to have these two fields. I'm coming to your question, Anna Paula, in a second. I think that after we've done the ordering module, it will be a little bit clearer. But there are two fulfillment parameters. What are fulfillment parameters? We might need to send information back to the customer. Let me quickly answer your last question. Subscriptions are not only the domain of commerce. The vendor needs to know that there is a subscription as well, right? And the vendor doesn't have commerce. So the vendor will need to see that this is a subscription for a monthly laptop. So in commerce, there are subscriptions, and they will reflect in Connect. There will be a one-on-one relationship between a commerce subscription and a Connect subscription, just as there is a commerce customer that has a one-on-one relationship with a Connect customer. Yeah, perfect, perfect. But the thing is that these two are mandatory. So this is the information, for instance, going back to the customer. Let's say that this customer, or in this product, let me go back to my product. I need to ship back, let's say, a shipping ID or a tracking ID. I might want to show that to my customer so they can keep track of when their package arrives. Right? That's for the scenario of I'm shipping laptops. Those are expensive things. So I need to be able to track it. And those are, for instance, fulfillment parameters. Fulfillment parameters, of course, there are two new ones. So I want to delete them. If I click delete here, it's going to ask me if I'm sure, and then it will fail. Because it is used. Because what we decided in our wisdom is that we want to display these fulfillment parameters in the control panel of the customer. So in that control panel, we have a template, and I'm going to talk about the different templates in a second. But here you see those titles of those parameters that we want to send back. And they are used in this text, because here we have those. And of course, if I delete it, this page will break, because it will try to pull something from a location that isn't there. So I first need to delete these two lines, save it, and now I can throw away those two parameters. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a fulfillment parameter. Add a parameter. In this case, it's a single line text. What is it? Place the tracking code here. And hint text, Control A, tracking code. Of course, this is required. Otherwise, we don't want to ship. So if somebody from the warehouse ships that laptop, they have to assign it to either its standard or express. Express is just faster, right? But we need a tracking code. And that is not unique. That is not a reconciliation ID. It's just a tracking code. The details, the ID is tracking code. Let's put just tracking code here. And the description, this is where you find the. There we go. Create. Close. Just want to show you one thing. This is the subscription. Here's the fulfillment scenario. And in the parameters, it automatically changed this. So now I can add a tracking code by going in edit and say, okay, the tracking code is 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Submit. You see that at the same time this happened, I'm going to approve this, and that's it. So now we have shipped the laptop, monthly laptop, to that customer. So now I think I covered the majority of the use cases that are of importance to know about inside a product. Embedding, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. Localization, I will talk about later. Offers and pricing, I will also cover later. Those are the basic product setups. So the next thing to look at would be the order flow. However, I think it's a good idea to do a break. But before I go and do a break, I want to know what questions there are so far. And again, if there are no questions, can you give me a thumbs up?
There is still the question from Claudio here and mine too.
Okay.
The same purchase flow is going to be duplicated inside CBC.
There is no real purchase flow here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, there is no separate purchase flow. The actual purchase flow, the real purchase flow comes from commerce, where we have a payment and then we go provision. The moment we're in that provisioning phase in commerce, what happens is operations from commerce hands it over to the distributor side of Connect. Connect reviews what product are they buying from which vendor. Do we have all the parameters that are mandatory? If not, send an email to the customer and say, hey, you still need to fill out those ordering parameters. And move this order into what we call the inquiring phase. We're going to talk about that after the break. When the customer has gone and used that link and said, okay, now we are going to, now it's okay, we can, you can continue. The system is going to review it again. Do we have all the information? We have all the information. We hand it over to the appropriate vendor, and the appropriate vendor is now, well, there is a fulfillment request, and that fulfillment request now needs to be handled either by manual provisioning. It could be that there is an email going out to that to somebody on their side that is going to provision the and ship the actual box. It could also mean that there is some automation behind it that hooks up to their warehouse system and says, okay, now you have to ship the this and this machine. It pulls it out of the rack. It puts it in a box. It registers with the appropriate information to the shipping agent and goes back to Connect and says, hey, I've done all this, so you can approve the you can approve the message and the subscription request. And that one goes back through those layers from the vendor to the distributor. This distributor account sees, hey, okay, this is an approved fulfillment request. So they connect back to commerce, or actually commerce is going to poll if it's done already because it's asynchronous. At some point, Connect comes back, or commerce comes back and says, hey, is this subscription now done, or what is it? And Connect says, yes, it's ready. Here's the information. And commerce will continue and finalizes that sales order. That is the process that we have when we have to combine the commerce order flows together with the Connect, let's say, data flow in between distributor and vendor. Does that answer your question, Claudia? Good.
I'm still confused. Sorry, because I saw that you create. I'm okay with the flow, because it's quite similar to a flow with the APS. It's not,
Yep.
it's
Nothing has
nothing new
changed
for
there.
me. Yeah, it's nothing new. But what I'm confused is that you created a subscription here in Connect.
Yeah.
So it's something that commerce is not seeing, and I believe you chose a distributor to attach the subscription to, if I'm also correct. So I don't understand
this is a
why
preview.
did you create
Be aware, Ana Paula, be aware, this is a preview. That means that this is something I do to test my product. This is also something where I probably don't even ship the laptop. This is a preview to see as a vendor to test my.
Got it. So it's like I'm just provisioning I'm provisioning it, but I will not be able to charge it or whatever. I'm just testing to see if the product is running as it should.
Yeah, and
So
I, as a
if
vendor, know that
develop-
I don't have to bill this customer because it's a test from my side.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So it's because, for instance, in that we're going to, I don't know, put the calls for the APIs for providing and whatever, and I need to check if it's working or not. So I'll do
Yes,
instead
exactly.
of creating trashy subscriptions in commerce, I just create trashy subscriptions in Connect.
Yes, and then that means
Okay.
that commerce doesn't. Of course, eventually, when you have tested as a vendor, you're going to hand it over to the distributor. The distributor
Yeah,
can do
sure.
the same preview stuff in Connect first. So you know that everything comes in through Connect is still not billable as a vendor. And then, of course, the last thing he wants to do is test one time in commerce if the whole flow now works. But
Got it.
yeah,
Now,
perfect.
now I understand. I was like, why are you doing this?
To test, to test. It's a preview.
Okay, I thought it would be something like, his seller stuff in commerce, where
Yeah,
you
no,
had to create a subscription, in order to have a reseller, to have the whatever. I was getting a little bit, crossing the information. Okay.
yeah,
Thank you. Now I understand.
very good, very
And
good. Glad to hear that. Okay, if there are no more questions, let's see. It is 37, so let's be back at, well, let's be back at the hour. Let's take a large break now because you have been listening to me for about more than 1.5 hours. So let's be back at on the hour.
Pessoal, eu mandei um e-mail aí.
Hi all. Can I get a thumbs up for those that are back, please? Right, I see a lot of thumbs ups. Perfect. Okay, let's continue with the order flow. The order flow is the flow that happens after, let's say, commerce hands it over to Connect. And since there is only one relationship between commerce and Connect, that is, commerce on the distributor side hooks up to the account of the distributor on Connect. The rest is happening internally in Connect itself. So we're looking at that same story again. That same story where this item is driving me nuts. Why does it always show on that screen? So simple, an order comes in on this side. An order comes in here. So CBC is found at the distributor side. You see order, you see fulfillment. So what are we talking about? Well, there are a couple of things that you need to know about. And here, Ana Paula, you see that word again, subscription. It's important to realize that subscriptions are definitely part of Connect. Why? Because the vendor needs to know when, how, and what to bill to the distributor so that the distributor can bill the customer. And the only way to know that is to put everything in a subscription. That's the most logical thing to do. And hence, subscriptions are an integral part of Connect itself. The other thing you see there is a fulfillment request. And basically every order that comes from Cloud WooCommerce is at some point translated into a fulfillment request in Connect. Actually, it is another order, right? It is just not the order including money and stuff like that, but it is still a request to create a subscription. It is the request to change a subscription. It is the request to cancel a subscription. All those things we call fulfillment requests. And just like in commerce, we call those things orders, but you have a sales order, you have a change order, you have a cancellation order. We have fulfillment requests of different types as well. So what is a fulfillment request? A fulfillment request represents a product order, again, right, that originates in the distributor's commerce system and is sent to a vendor. And it is sent to a vendor through the distributor account where that commerce system hooks up to. So this could be Cloud WooCommerce, this could be Azure Marketplace, this could be AWS Marketplace, etc., etc., etc. As long as the money part is handled on that side, on that marketplace side, and the marketplace is happy that on that side everything is done, now we only need the service, it hands it over to the distributors side, or with, I would almost say, with the distributor's credentials to Connect. Connect will evaluate what product is it, from what vendor is it, hand it over to the vendor where the vendor does its trick. That is how the process goes. A fulfillment request can also be manually created. This is that preview that I just did. A preview to see if my product works, if the system is asking the right questions, etc., etc., etc. Customer information. What supply chain does it come from? What marketplace does it come from, etc., etc. So the vendors require that information, and all that information is stored in the fulfillment request. Where does it get that information in, let's say, a production environment? From the order. From the order from the commerce system that should contain all that information. And if it doesn't, Connect will ask for it. And how does that work? We'll see that in this slide. Each of those fulfillment requests will have different statuses. The first status that such a fulfillment request can have is draft. This is optional, actually. When is a draft? When is a fulfillment request in draft? For instance, if there are if there's the need for data validation, do we have a real postal code, or is this just fake? One of the things that you might recognize from Microsoft. If I fill out my details and I use the wrong postal code, and that information is not validated at the commerce side, the order might fail. So we do that validation now, not in commerce, because we can do it in Connect as well. Of course, we should also do it in commerce, but in Connect, this is also validated. Why? To make sure that we request the correct information without having an order fail first, and then we have to fix it, etc., etc. You all know how annoying that could be in commerce. So validation, that's draft. Most orders come in a pending state. Pending state simply means, or most fulfillment requests, I should say, come in a pending state, which means that somebody needs to act on it. The system might be able to do that by going to provision it and hand it over to the integration between Connect and the actual platform, the code behind it. And of course, when that request is handled, there are two possible statuses. This one, which we hope we will never get, but we know that we will get it, for the simple reason that sometimes orders fail for whatever reason. Maybe not even reason, the reason is part of Connect or your integration, but something is wrong on the other side, on Microsoft side or whatever. But orders can fail. There's nothing wrong with that. There is a lot wrong with that, but it still happens. And we hope that this is the status that this request will reach. This is a status switch that you have to do, either through the automation or manual. But you have to, if everything has provision, if everything is fulfilled, you somehow have to switch that fulfillment request from pending to approved. You saw me do that. I pressed that button, approve. Why? Because I faked that I shipped that machine. So we also understand a subscription as an instance of a product that is provisioned for a customer. It contains purchase information. It contains activation related data. Activation data is collected from customers. Purchase information could also be collected from the other system, like a license ID or as I have in my example, a tracking code to send to the customer. It might be even information that is not related to the product itself, but about the way to get the product to the customer, right? I'm renting a laptop. Of course, I could use serial number of that laptop as a fulfillment ID, as a fulfillment parameter, but I chose to use something that is not directly related to the product, but to the way that product gets to the customer. Maybe both would be a good idea, right? A fulfillment parameter serial number and a fulfillment parameter tracking ID. Fulfillment parameter serial number, of course, when the subscription ends, the customer has to hand it in, and you need to know if this customer shipped the correct laptop back, right? Those kind of things you could do. Collected from the customers during the ordering phase, we call them ordering parameters, or stored during the fulfillment phase, which are the fulfillment parameters. So active subscriptions on the platform ensure, now we're talking about subscriptions, we're not talking about fulfillment requests. Those are two different things, right? These are the subscriptions itself. Active subscriptions on the Connect platform ensure that correct information is processed and your customers receive the purchased products. Once vendors successfully approved a pending fulfillment request, its associated subscription is assigned to the active status. So an active subscription is not something that you set. It is the result of the fact that you approve the fulfillment request. Of course, a subscription, if set, right? If that setting is set, can be suspended, can be put on hold. After that, of course, it can be resumed. A resume request will, in that case, be there. It needs to be approved by the vendor. If a customer cancels his subscription, that subscription goes into terminating state. Terminating, which means that at some point there is a cancellation request working, and of course this is a request that needs to be approved. It's a cancellation fulfillment request that needs to be approved. This could also mean, for instance, a delayed cancellation. Customer wants to cancel his subscription, but he cannot do that yet until the end of his subscription period. Those kind of things could be included in the logic of the integration. Microsoft has that cancellation policy nowadays, right? Where the cancellation policy says you cannot cancel after 7 days from the start of this subscription, or after 7 days of a renewal. Well, in this case, it will show as terminating, but it will only go into the terminated state the moment that point where they can cancel or terminate is reached. These statuses are showing at subscription level. So let me quickly demonstrate that. And since I haven't published my product, the only thing I can do is I can do a preview, I can buy something, but I can also go into my subscriptions and test everything there. I've got a subscription here. I can create a new one, which is again a preview. It looks like create subscription. It looks like a very, this is still just a test, a preview. If I go into this subscription, I can generate different actions. I can generate a billing action. Why would I want to do that? A billing action will trigger the process to generate, for instance, a usage file. In this case, it's not that relevant because there is no, come on. There is nothing to do. Let me get rid of that. No, let it sit there. Because I don't have specific usage in here. But I can either change that subscription. So what is the subscription? This is that subscription, and it sees that it's a preview subscription. I can add a seat or a laptop. So this customer does not need one, but needs 2 laptops now. Click next. and we're creating the change request in this case. Close. That means that in my subscriptions fulfillment list, there is a new fulfillment request. This one was a purchase. This one is now a change request. Right? So, and this one is pending. So I take another laptop from the rack. I'm shipping it. And I approve this item. I can use the same tracking code. I can edit the tracking code because now we ship a second one. And we have a different tracking code for that. And we approve it. I'm going to use this sample template in a second to show you what you can do with that one. So now we see the change here. We see that the change order is approved. The change request is approved. If I now go to my subscriptions tab, I see that it is active again. I see that from the reservation items, we have 2 basic laptops now. We see those parameters here. Here we only see them and the most actual ones. In the fulfillment request, you see the change in that thing. And here we see 2 fulfillment requests. Here we see the history of this subscription. We see that it was purchased at this time with reservation. I need that one with a quantity of 1. And afterwards, we see also that there was a change to make that second one. Subscription is active. What I can also do if I go into that subscription is I can cancel the subscription. Create a cancellation request. The fulfillment request ID we have here is pending, and the subscription ID we have here is terminating. So there we see it. If we go to the list, it's pretty clear that there is something happening there. For fulfillment, we now see that it's a cancel request. It's still a preview. And now I can approve it. There we go. This is the life cycle of a subscription. However, what does this mean here? We see Saturn. I'm not sure what this has to do with the control panel. Well, let's go back to the product and configure this, because this is, at least for me, a vital part of Connect as well as the integration with commerce, because these templates that I have here are the information pages that show for that specific subscription in UX1 in commerce. So this is where you define what is showing or what should show for a customer. And there are 3 phases. The pending template. The pending template, of course, is set if the customer's subscription is in pending state. When is it in pending state? If I just ordered it, right? So let's look at what it says. Please wait while your request is being fulfilled. Cool. So there is not that much to do. So I can change it. I can do a preview. This is what it shows, right? I can go back to edit. Cancel. Inquiring template is when a customer decided to, or if a sales agent decided not to make the selection for, in this case, the phone number as well as the shipping agent or the shipping type. standard or express. And here we point at what we call a activation form. So a customer will see that, go to his control panel, see this, click the link, and they will get the request to fill out, in this case, 2 fields: the phone number and the shipping choice, because those 2 are mandatory on ordering. And the last one is the approved. When I approve a subscription, what do we want to show? In this case, let's say I want to show, first of all, a confirmation of my phone number and the shipping choice. Hey, this is the phone number you added. This is your shipping choice. And I, of course, want to tell them the tracking code that the customer, so that the customer can keep track of his shipment of laptops. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the whole thing. There we go. And I'm going to put in a title. Let's do something like your laptop for rent subscription. Be aware that I don't have to tell this system how many laptops the customer did, because that part comes from the commerce side. So commerce will somehow also show this on that same page. What I need to do is I want to confirm these 3 fields. So I want to say, okay, the phone number you registered is that one. And if I want that one bold, I can make that one bold by selecting the bold. I could also use the 2 asterisks for that. Your choice for shipping was and use that one. And you can follow your shipment using this tracking number. There we go. Save. Are you there, guys? Because on my side, it said I am disconnected.
No, you're not.
Okay, good. So I see there is a question. This is what we have in the CCP for NCE. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these are those kind of things in this case. So these are for the product NCE, commercial or education or whatever. We have created those templates on the side of Connect. So if a customer buys NCE through assisted sales and they need to fill out partner IDs or other items, etc., we will have the inquiring template. They click it and they get these notifications. Yeah, and the inquiring template is just an on-screen thing. The approved template, same thing. If a subscription has been completed on Microsoft side, we apply the approve button, or actually through the API, the approve action. And part of that approve action is show them what approved template should we display in the customer control panel. And I'm going to show you a little demonstration on what I mean with what approved template am I going to show. Does it answer your question? All right. Okay. Let me get rid of this one. Where does it go now? It goes here again, of course. I thought that. So that's one thing. Let's do another preview, right? Let's create another subscription. Let's do it the other way. I've shown you that I can do a preview from within the product. Let's also show you that I can do it from the subscriptions option. So I'm going to subscriptions, and here I'm going to create a new subscription. It's exactly the same wizard. These are just multiple paths that lead to the same result. I'm going to, again, do an internal test. I haven't finalized anything. I only have one product. I'm going to sell it through the Dutch marketplace. I'm going to mimic that I'm doing that. No price lists. It is for John Doe again. Next. This is my customer. Let's not do 73. Let's do one laptop. Next. Next. My phone number is 00316533080009. And I want express shipping. Create. So now I have another subscription in the processing status. That means there is a fulfillment request in the pending status. There are two ways to get to that fulfillment request. If I see something processing, I can go to that subscription and go to the fulfillment tab. But here you see, please wait while your request is being fulfilled. That is exactly what I showed you in that pending template. And here is my pending request that I need to process. So depending on what you think is for you a more convenient way to get there. There are a lot of options to get to the same point. Of course, I can see again that it's one, but what I want to do is I want to first set up the parameters, because now I have to first fill a tracking code. So let's do an edit and put in something that says something. It's a mandatory thing. There is no format required in this case. I just put in something. I submit it, and then I get to approve it. And here we have that template preview. I can select whatever is there. I can set specific billing dates, effective dates. When do we approve this? This could be, for instance, a cancellation for Microsoft. When do we want to process that cancellation? Guess what? I do that at the end of its subscription time. Specific time, maybe. In this case, it doesn't matter. So here we are. We approved it. If I now go to the subscriptions directory, we see it's an active subscription, and going into this option, your laptop for rent subscription, the phone number you registered is this one. Your choice for shipping was express, and you can follow your shipment using the tracking number, etc., etc. So what happens if I cancel this subscription? Create a cancellation request. It's pending. I go to fulfillment. I take this one and I approve it. And the problem is that with approval, I have to feed an activation template. And it's of course weird that I'm putting this information in the activation of a canceled subscription. So I want to change this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a second approval template. I'm going into my product. I'm going into embedding. And the approved templates, I'm going to add one. And I'm going to call this the default cancellation template. And you see it takes another full set. And I'm going to do that. You cancel your laptop for subscription. There. edit. Save. Now we have two. One for starting or changing, and one for canceling. So if I now go back to my fulfillment request for cancellation, and I want to approve it, I can now decide to approve this one. In commerce, the system itself will take care of not showing that subscription anymore. Why did we still allow for this? Because not all marketplaces remove old subscriptions from view for customers. So in that case, it might be more relevant to show something like this in the control panel of the customer. Going back to my directory, now we have two terminated subscriptions. So whatever you want to show, whatever you want to do, however you want to play around with your subscriptions, anything you want to display in the customer control panel can be done using those embedding templates. Of course, you can put more information in. You can only put in the fulfillment parameters if you want to. You can only put in ordering parameters if you want to. In this case, default subscription pending. I thought I could also use, let's see if I can do that quickly. If I can use that. Let's see if this works. I'm not 100% sure. Let's create another subscription. And in this case, I'm just going to click. I don't care how many laptops this person buys. For John. Okay, 98. Interesting. So phone number, standard shipping. Close. Now I'm curious. Yep. So even though the template itself does not really position those parameters, the ordering parameters you can display in a pending template. Why? Because at that point, the parameters are known to the system. If those parameters, the mandatory parameters, are not known to the system, the fulfillment request will not reach the pending status. It goes to that inquiring status. And that inquiring status gives me another completely other template. That inquiring status gives me this one, the inquiring template. And that one shows, please complete our form to resume processing of your request. Where there is a link to a form, you fill it out, and then the system will display, in this case, two fields, the telephone number, as well as your shipping choice to be selected by the customer. And it's weird that I can do that here, because the fact that we don't have it is a little bit weird that they do this. But that's Connect. So a lot of, I would almost say, interesting things I can do using those templates here. I can create a change template. I can create a suspend template. right? If I allow suspension of a subscription, it might be interesting to tell the customer that their subscription is not canceled or in stopped or whatever, but that it is in the process of being suspended, or that it is suspended. So a whole other approved template. Save. Control A. Oh, Control A, delete. Your subscription is suspended. Please contact something like that, right? Save. And then if it is suspended, you make sure that the suspend template is part of the activation. This, I would almost say, calls for a lot of creativity, things that can be done, might need to be done, but you can at least show the customer relevant information based on the status of that subscription when you approve it. The fact that there is a 1 here means that I still have a fulfillment request pending. Of course, let's do something that we hope is not really necessary. I fail it. Reason, bad information. Approve requires a template. Fail requires a reason. And there is no template for that. It just says request is rejected. Of course, the customer will not see this in his control panel, so there is no use of setting up a template for this one. And you see that the rejection node, bad information, is showing here. And it also shows in these two items in my, I would almost say, communication channel that I can have with my distributor. Now, since this product is not published yet, it's not going to that distributor. Okay, let's say I am happy with my product now. There is no usage in it, so what I have here is good enough. So I want to make sure that my distributor now starts testing it. What do? Well, in my product, there is a versions option. And in my versions, there is always the master. I can change the master. I always work at master level. The thing is that the master is always private. Private means I, as a vendor, only see it. If I want to show it to my distributor, I have to fork it. Create a new version, that's it. Fork the master into a new version. The description, this is the first version to be published. The thing is that these descriptions will be visible. The descriptions I put in here will be visible for the distributor in both Connect as well as in PLM. So if you make changes, make sure you mention in that description what is new. So it is relevant for the distributor to see if he needs to be in a hurry to implement it, or that he can also do it tomorrow. It's a public one. I can not retract a version, but I can make it private again if needed. I'm going to fork it into a public version. Not sure why it took that long. It should be done pretty fast. Now I have a version 1, the first version to be published. And now I need to request listing of my product towards my distributor. So I'm going to manage my listing. In this case, there is only one product. And it's this one. If I have no public version, it will tell me that there are no products to list. So that is the trigger for you to decide that you forgot to fork that master item. I see all my distributors that I have a relationship with. In this case, there's only one. And I see all marketplaces where I have a distribution agreement with. Remember all these terms from Monday, right? And since I tested everything in euros so far, I'm going to select the Dutch marketplace only. You see that I have to create, because these are radio buttons, I have to do a listing request per marketplace. In this case, only the Dutch one. I have to create a new one for the K8S sandbox. And I also have to create a separate one for the sandbox marketplace. Next, there are no prices there are no offers, and I'm submitting this request to the distributor. I can close this, and if I want to, I want to publish it in another marketplace, I go through the same list. Again, let's do that quickly for that distributor and use the sandbox marketplace. Next, 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 submit. Just to show you that for each marketplace, I have to do this, and also to show you the requests, the listing request at the distributor side. So now we have a couple of listing requests. Here we are. Laptop for rent AMX1 is the product. The vendor's AMX demo. Is that correct? I think so. AMX demo, right? There it is. So I am reviewing them. 2 requests, one for the Dutch marketplace, one for the sandbox marketplace. So I'm going for this one first. I can chat. I want to do this, but I need to learn how to deploy first. Enter. Oh, sorry. Control Enter should be the trick. Let me go to the other side of the fence. Here we have it. This is the Dutch marketplace. I'm going into that item. I see this comment of the distributor. Okay. Okay. So I click the button that says mark as deploying. What more can I do? I can reject the request. I don't want it yet, or it's a little bit strange because I cannot see the product yet. Let me show you that. Products. Let's remove the filter. Let's copy the name of the product and filter on that one. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, it's there. It's published, but it's not listed yet. So I can go into it. I can review it. Hey, this is weird. Ooh. Do we have a bug here? The directory. The filter is laptop for rent AMX1. It is published. And if I open it, now it shows. Okay, I'm not sure what is there. I see the overview. I see the items. Before, I see my ordering parameters. Maybe this is something I discussed with the vendor, and I'm saying, okay, this is cool. This is what I want. So now I'm going to my listing requests. And for the Dutch marketplace, I say I mark it as deploying, which is weird because after that, I have to mark it as completed. I personally do not know what extra step that deploying is because I am not yet integrating anything with my commerce. So the terminology deploying, I really don't know why, because I still have to mark it as completed. This request now shows here status changed to deploying, refresh, as deploying, but it's not ready yet, right? You see that it's still an intermediate status. So I have to mark it as completed. So I have deployed it. Now we see the status completed. Now I refresh this one. And it is deployed into that marketplace. So now we can continue working as the distributor. That means that, again, I can go into the product if I want to. I can go into this product and say, I want to do a preview, launch preview, or I can go to subscriptions and do the same thing. Let's do that. This sounds like a silly thing, but here we have separate different options. Is this a test environment or is this a production environment? Let's do a test first. For which product? Now you get the lot, everything, because a subscription that I create here looks at every product that I have. So I search for this one, take that specific product. These are all my marketplaces. We see the Dutch one here. And we also see the Sandbox marketplace. And we see the K8S, where is it? The K8S Sandbox. Why can I not select the K8S Sandbox? Because I never requested listing for that one. So in this case, I can do it for the Dutch marketplace because I have an accepted listing for the Dutch marketplace. But I also have a listing request for the Sandbox marketplace that I did not accept yet. We've got different customers in here. Next. Well, that's okay. Well, let's do one. Next. Attributes, subscription parameters, standard shipping, create, close. That is a laptop for rent. Why does it work with that Sandbox marketplace, even though I did not accept the listing there? Because it's still a test. And testing I can do in Connect for all things that a listing request has been done. The moment I want to hook it up to commerce, I have to first accept the listing request and then create the connection. So how would this show? Well, or what can we do? We have a fulfillment request here for that laptop for rent. Here we have it. So what can I do? Well, there isn't a button there. There's no button here except for this one. I can fail it. So as a distributor, I'm doing a test, walk through it. I see that this is showing and I fail it. I can go in to the parameters and view them. I cannot change them, right? So now it's up to the vendor to do its trick, because you have to work together. For subscriptions, I'm going to fulfillment. Here is my pending request for BN group. I have my parameters. Now I can edit the fulfillment thing because that's a vendor thing, right? So the vendor is putting in the tracking code. Submit. And I can approve this one. The default activation template is good enough. And I see change to approved. You see that this part is dynamic. This part is not dynamic. So I have to refresh it to see this. Now would be a good time. Go on. We have an approved purchase request with that tracking code. And that means that the customer would see this information like this. That is how those previews work together. Like I said, I can use anything that has a listing request as a distributor. So I can play around with it. I can, even before it might even show up in commerce. As the listing request is there as a distributor, I can do previews for test, for production. That's it. Eventually, when you want to import it into commerce, you need to, first of all, have an approved listing request, a finalized listing request. And at the distributor side, this is the vendor, this is the distributor. At the distributor side, you even, in the product itself, that was a good time. Not sure what is happening.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Yep. It doesn't
Hold
even.
on for a minute. Wait, your request is really important for us.
That's something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Come on. It doesn't even refresh.
Thanks for your cooperation.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye. Okay, not sure. The moment we have a listing, we have to create a connection with a hub. And that hub is, as we know, connected to a Cloudbook Commerce entity. So let's create a connection with the appropriate hub. Where is it? That one. Test. Next. So now my product can be imported and tested. Those are the steps to do. It's silly, but multiple steps.
Well, we import it in OA, right?
Yeah. No,
It will be
you
visible
don't
in
import
OA.
it in OA. You use Product Lifecycle Manager for that.
Yeah, I know. Then I have the resources, and then I had the resource in OA, and then I create the service template in OA, and then I go to BA to use the service template. Yeah, that's what I was saying when I said I use it in OA. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Full path here.
But that's indeed the order. You go to PLM, you import the product. That's PLM part will create the resources, will create the service template, and then when you import that PPR file, it will create the service plans in billing with all the parameters on it. Yeah, that's the order.
Cool.
So this is how you set up a product that only has, let's say, has reservation items. Of course, the next step will, of course, be, let me go to my slide deck, will be that we want to do some usage for whatever reason. And the usage flow is that last flow that we have here. And like I said before, if you only have reservation items, you're done now. You're ready to start selling and you don't need anything else. And when we talk about SaaS, a lot of products are set up this way, are set up with only reservation items. You have a license for this, you have a license for that. You need an add-on license for this, and that. And then you can combine products with those licenses so that your Office 365 is backup using Acronis, etc., right? That is the majority. There are, however, products like Azure, which is a big product, where you have usage. So let's look at how that usage works. Because we have to somehow send usage from the vendor to the distributor. And hopefully that works correct. And then Commerce will pick it up so that Commerce can charge the customer for that specific usage. How do we do that? We do that by two things. Of course, we need a usage report. We need a file pushed to Connect that contains the, let's say, per vendor, the usage of each and every usage-based item, and defines how much the customer needs to pay for it. Pay for it in different scenarios. I see a hand up.
Does this report needs to be a file or could it be an API call?
Yes and yes. What do I mean with that? I can push an Excel sheet with an API call, but it needs to be an Excel sheet.
Oh, it needs to be an Excel sheet. I cannot send like single usage information.
No. So you have to have.
So it's different from APS.
Yeah.
Because in the APS, I could do whatever I wanted. I could use a file or just a single usage.
Yeah, no, in this case, it needs to be a file. It needs to be even an Excel file. So if you have a product that generates usage, you have to somehow make sure that that product exports the usage according to the format that we require.
Even using development.
You need to do a post processor. You have to, or you have to build a post processor that converts one type of file into another type of file, or something that you have to build some kind of middleware. And of course, middleware is maybe a big word, but since you are already building integration between, let's say, between Connect and your service, that part could also extract the information from the service the moment a billing request is done and push it into the appropriate Excel file and then upload that file.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it complicates things. Okay, thanks.
It does. On the other hand, it also facilitates things when we are not talking about automation. It's for both sides. There are arguments for and against. I think that we internally had that discussion. I wasn't there, but I think we had that discussion.
You
and
could
they
have
decided,
done both, you know.
Yeah.
That would be the, the fantastic world. But I know that's not feasible.
Hey,
So
you know, right? Excel is the enterprise management tool in the world, the biggest enterprise
no, it's
management
the
tool in the
biggest
world.
ERP tool in the world.
But yeah, that's no, it has to be an Excel file, which means that somehow in your integration between Connect and your application, you either have to facilitate the extraction of usage into an Excel file, or if your product already exports information into another format of file, you need to somehow create a post processor that converts that type of file, even if it's a CSV, into Excel, and then push the Excel into Connect.
It could be XLS or XLSX, right?
I think it's
Or
even
any of
mandatory
the
the
Excel
XLSX.
formats, I mean.
I think it's XLSX even, but I'm not
Okay.
100% sure about that one.
XML Excel, you don't know, because we also have the XML Excel. We have several
I know, no,
Excel
as far as
file
I know,
formats.
yeah, as far as I know, what I read in the documentation, it is XMLSX, XLSX.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So what are we discussing here? We're discussing the usage reports. And in those usage reports, first of all, we are doing two things. And this, you're thinking you're confused now, Ana Paula. I'm going to confuse you a little bit more because it took me some time to understand it.
Don't do this to me. I'm sick.
Before I understood this, I had to reread the manual 3-4 times. So we have something we call a usage report. The usage report is not the Excel sheet. The usage report is an object, just like a product that you have to create, and then you attach the Excel sheet to that usage report, which means that each month you have to create a new usage report and upload the file to that specific usage report, making life a little bit more complex.
So wait. Let's say that I need to send usage every day, or every 2 hours. I need to generate a new report every 2 hours?
You need to not only generate the report
And
every 2
upload the
hours,
file,
but
I mean, both
also
things.
create a file for those 2 hours and upload that file for 2 hours.
Holy cow, okay.
Yeah. This is the reason why most vendors decided that once a month is good enough.
I see your point.
So the vendor sends this file to the distributors to bill their customers, and there is a sample file, and you will see that it's an XLSX. But that is what we're talking about, XLSX. Before you can even consider doing that, of course, you need to have an item that is related to pay-as-you-go. So before we can even consider this, we have to get that item out there. So I'm going to go back in as the vendor, and I want to go into my product. And go to the items. And there is a pay-as-you-go item. What was wrong again? Well, as I said, in your product, there are settings where one of the settings says, do we want to include pay-as-you-go items? By default, that setting is turned off. So there is no button, add new pay-as-you-go item. It tells me why not here, and it even gives me a link to where to fix it. But be aware that if you are considering pay-as-you-go, you need to make sure that pay-as-you-go is enabled on your product. So let's go there. Here we have it, pay-as-you-go. It's off. So I'm going to edit the settings, and I'm going to switch on pay-as-you-go. And oh dear, we have more choices to make. Here we are. So basically all this is related to pay-as-you-go. Let's quickly walk through them. What are dynamic items? Dynamic items are items that could be in the invoice or could be in the pay-as-you-go report, the usage report file, without being defined on as a specific item that a customer could buy. So why would that be? Well, consider, for instance, the old Azure. In Azure, you could be billed for compute. You could be billed for network, incoming network traffic, outgoing network traffic. There were so many items that Azure would bill you on that it would almost be undoable to define them all in the product itself. So we decided that, okay, since these are things that are just a result of you using the platform, Azure, we don't need to define them. We just define that there are dynamic items. We create the tenant in Azure. You go to the Azure portal, you build your infrastructure there, etc., etc. And eventually we will collect the usage based on stuff that Microsoft gives us. And we are not failing that request because, hey, we don't know outgoing network traffic as an item, because we have defined that as a dynamic item, or at least we accept dynamic items. That is what dynamic items do. Future changes. Future charges. Future charges is we make a kind of prognosis. If you continue working this way, this is where you end up at the end of the month. So we do some kind of prediction, or we attempt a prediction there. Late charges. Azure, if I terminate something and there are some usage collectors that might run 2 or 3 or 4 days late, and we get the invoice at that point, we want to facilitate that. So late charges, predictive estimates, and the reporting schema. How are we reporting this usage? Are we reporting only the quantity and then the commerce platform needs to add a price to it? Or are we reporting the price for the end customer? Or are we reporting the cost for the distributor, which means that the distributor has to add their markup to it? Or do we do multi-tier rated? That means that we define the price for the distributor, for potential level 1 resellers, for potential level 2 resellers, and for the end customer. So this depends on how you are reporting the usage of your specific service. And of course, this has to align. If your service only can report disk space usage, we have to look at quantity only. If your system is, let's say, completely mature, where it can do the math for the distributor, for the end customer, and all the in-between resellers, we could go for multi-tier rated. So that is a very important selection. This last one is maybe the most important one when you talk about pay-as-you-go. Of course, the rest is also important, but this one is key. I'm going to save it. If I now go back to my product items and go to pay-as-you-go, there is a button that says create item. I see a hand up. Tell me, Anna Paula.
Check, please.
Yeah, I see. I saw there is something in the chat. How do dynamic items reflect in CBC? Considering I'll have to send separate lines for different items and different SKUs. If I send the price as what I'm reporting, how does it show as usage in CBC once the resource has a price by itself in there? This is where in commerce, there is a new setting in commerce. Let me Do I have a platform available? I think I have a platform available. Let me try to go there.
I hope you have a platform.
Yeah, I've got many, but I don't know which one I would use. Let's try that one. Yeah. I'm not sure if I can demonstrate everything everywhere. Let's go to service plans. Add a new one. Generic.
Is this a V21 or
This is
V20?
what I'm going to
Yeah.
show you.
Yeah.
Does not matter
The
on
version. Okay.
20.4 or up. Because if we do that pricing, anything that says cost rated, price rated, or multi-tier rated requires this setting at the service plan. So in that case, it will never have an amount set to those resources. We just depend on the rating file, the usage file in this case, of the vendor. And the vendor will tell me, hey, this customer pays this much. Or this vendor tells me, this is your cost for this resource or for this customer. And you add your markup to it and charge the customer your cost plus markup. That's why this item is there.
Okay, but there again, let's say that I'm saying this because it's an actual use case I have.
Yeah.
I'm using commerce to set the prices, to make easier for people because they're used to set prices in commerce.
Yeah.
So the configuration for the prices is in commerce, and I'm rating it outside. I'm actually doing that. I'm using dummy resources for that. I'm having an issue for VV21 for this one. I know that we're working on it, but still, we are rating outside, and then we are using the prices. We configured it in Cloudflow.
In that case, it's overuse. The overuse amount
Yes.
is what you do. Nothing is included.
Yes.
No recurring fee for it.
Yes.
So
I
the
only use
overuse
the
price
overusage fee.
times the
Yes.
amount, times the used amount, and that means that you have to rely on the product to be defined as quantity rated only. If that product is price rated, you're absolutely in big trouble, because in that case, those two scenarios will collide and it will
They
never.
will collide. Okay.
Yeah.
I cannot do that. Okay. So
Nope.
because I was thinking about using this one, but I'll not be able to keep my things they were, because I don't want to, to add a new screen just for people to configure prices. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's centralized in CBC and it should still be there. So I'll have to think about something else. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let me go back here and create an item. So let's say this is storage.
But it's still the question you didn't answer. How do dynamic items reflect in CBC? Because I don't have an item here, right? And
no,
I'm
dynamic
saving a
items.
file.
Yeah, the whole thing with dynamic items is that CBC will pick them up and put them in the invoice as individual lines. Yeah.
Ooh, just like
Billing lines.
just like they will be deputy memos.
Yeah.
Literally deputy memos, right?
Well.
Yeah, something like
yeah,
it.
like
They
that.
have the same behavior as a deputy memo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they will be in the order instead of in the.
Yeah, in the billing order, they will be
Yeah.
as individual line items. That means that they will show up in the invoice as individual line items.
Yeah, so there will not be a resource, and it means that in the report I need to send the SKU too. Otherwise, there will be no SKU. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So we have storage space. Let's look at storage space here. You can rent, just like your Claro Drive scenario, you can rent a laptop, and if that's not enough, we have a client for that, so it syncs, and you have your OneDrive, Claro Drive kind of scenario. So and then I was gone.
Yes, we're gone, and now And I'll use that to ask another question because I'm a very questiony person.
Tell me.
So, if I have dynamic items, could I use then still the resource with the values, if the user is over usage fee, etc. Since I'm not applying any, value to them, I could create as items in PLM, isolated items, and then add them to the service template. And then I'll just use it for, configuring the rates, but then use as dynamic, because then I'll just apply the information that I need directly in the
I think
in
if
the
you do
report.
that, yeah, the problem that I have with that, if you do that, you're probably in for a lot of work, because that means that if a vendor decides to change something in his product, you have to go through jump through all the loops again. I would.
Yeah, I'm the vendor. So,
True, but why would you do it that way then?
no,
You're
it's
in
just that,
charge.
it's just a use case that I have, because I have like 300 resources, and I'm rating it outside of Cloudflare.
Yeah, but if
That's
you
the
are
thing.
rating it outside, why
Yes.
not? Why not somehow decide that dynamic items are the best way to go? That means that in commerce,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. The problem is I need to have the screen to set the prices, and I'm using Cloud Commerce now.
why do you need to have the screen to show the prices?
Not to
If
show, to configure them for my configuration team, for my pricing
because
configuration team to use.
the service you have does not support
No, we
price.
centralize all the rating, all the
It's only
characters they are
quantity.
configured in the CBC.
It's
a rule
only
for
quantity that
MFL.
it exports.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a rule. CBC needs to be the one component that has all the, all the rates for every product that we sell in CBC. It's our rule. And it makes sense because we were not supposed to look into 5 or 6 different places to find something. So you shouldn't need to.
Well,
Okay, of course, AWS, GCP, that are out of the curve, but in general, that's what happens.
And this is a lot of dynamic items. How many dynamic items do you have?
For now, 300. No, sorry, more. It's 462.
Oh, sorry, pay-as-you-go items. I mean, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's ARP as we go, because I'm not technically talking about our cloud, one of our clouds.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
In-house clouds. Yes.
And
this is an example. I have others.
Yeah.
It's
So
just
the
one.
thing is,
This
of
is
course,
the most
you can
standard one.
also use just pay-as-you-go items by defining them all in the product. If they don't change, and if it is a logical thing, you can still define them in the product. The only difference is that you own this product. With Microsoft, you don't own the product. That means that if Microsoft decides to add an item, all of a sudden you cannot build them if you don't set up dynamic items.
Yes.
In your case, since you own those products, you can add them manually, as I'm doing now, as a pay-as-you-go item in the respective products, which means that they will show up as resources in operations, which means that you can add them in the service plans as resource rates and add pricing there.
Yeah, so then in this case, I would have to send as usage and not as something already rated.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that actually this is what I'm doing today, because I'm sending to BA to a dummy resource using an API.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That is how you could do it. If you
Yeah.
own the product, why do we have that use external rating? Because of the Microsofts that change things every once in a while, of the AWSs that add resources every once in a while that we not always immediately know about.
Yes.
And then we cannot bill, etc., etc. But if you own the product, you know when you're adding a resource to your service.
Yes.
It means that you know that you have to add it to the product in Connect. That means that you know that you have to update the product version, import the new connector, and you're done. So since you are the owner of that whole process, I
Yes.
would not look at dynamic items. I would look at, okay, these are just standard fixed pay-as-you-go items and add them to the product.
Got it. And then work with them. But then I would have to work with the Excel stuff.
You have to work with the Excel anyway. So that doesn't change. The only thing is now you know what has to be in the Excel.
Yeah, yeah, because even if it's a dynamic item, I need to send the Excel file, right? Sure. Yeah. Got it. I'm still thinking of a fourth option here.
Let me finish this
You
story
see,
first.
I will use the dev one. We will have sandboxes for the dev one, because if we do, I'm going to be crazy in there.
Mhm. Okay, let's continue this demo first. So this is a pay-as-you-go item. So what is it? Is this just integers? Is this 1 decimal? Is this 2 decimals, 4 or 8 decimals? Those are the choices that we have, depending, of course, on your base unit of measure, how you want to calculate it later. So let's say I do that. And what is the unit? It's megabyte hour. Create. So here is my storage space. This one is in draft. These are published. That means that at this moment, the product that I have put out to my distributor only knows about reservation items. They don't know about those, about that pay-as-you-go item yet. When would they know? If I create a new version. So again, we added the option to sync your data. Something like that. Fork. This brings us version 2. Here we are. If I now go to my my distributor, let me get commerce out of the way and go to the, oh, this is the wrong control panel. Cool. Let me go back to portal. Here we are. I'm at the distributor now. I go to products. I take my laptops for rent. If I go to versions, I see that there is a version 2 now. I don't need to import that here because within Connect, it will sync those versions automatic. I will only use the latest version if I do previews. The moment commerce comes in, of course, commerce is bound to a specific version of this product. So let's say we already imported this one into commerce, version 1. In commerce, I still don't have that that pay-as-you-go item. I need to re-import it. But if I go to my items here, you will see that there is that usage, and now it shows as published. So now I have a product that can support pay-as-you-go. Let me go to the home page, and we have our usage there. And what we want to do is we want to create a usage file. And this is, Anna Paula, what I meant with, now we have a 2-step rocket. I first need to create the metadata of that usage file, and then I have to upload the Excel. So create a usage file has nothing to do with the file itself. That's okay. For this product, it is supported. If I would not have had forked this one, it would not have given me any product here because it was not supported. There were no pay-as-you-go items. So this one supports it. For internal testing first, no distributor, that means no marketplace. And what currency are we doing? In this case, let's do US dollars. For which time zone? This might depend on the date that I'm setting, because in the next field, the period for which this is available, from to, we're taking 24-hour days. So depending on where my time zone is situated, I might have a different block of stuff to charge. So let's do, for the period of the 1st of April until the 10th, I can put in a description. I can put in an external ID if I want to. This is one of the few fields where the description is not mandatory. And I can go to the details straight away. So here we have the scenario. Why does it say quantity? Because that is how I set up the product. I set up the product to use quantity only for pay-as-you-go. I can change the subscription. I can change the external ID if I want to. And I want to upload the normalized file, which is that Excel sheet. Luckily, we have the opportunity. Where is that? There it comes. Here we have it. The normalized file template. I want to save it. I want to replace it. And let me open it. It was in downloads, normalized. Where was it? I did put it in that location, right? Or did I put it somewhere else? I'm pretty well known for doing that. Oh, it's on my desktop, of course. Of course, all that stuff goes on my desktop. I shouldn't do that, but I do it. Here we have them, normalized template, normalized template 1. I'm going to use that one. Here we are. So let's first maximize the UI and then zoom a little bit. This file comes with instructions. Follow them. The data definitions that we have here, I always have a hard time reading those on my laptop. But what is there? What records do we have? Record IDs, quantities, specific values. How do we filter? Do we filter on asset ID? Do we filter on parameter IDs, etc., etc.? What categories do we have for when this is where we talk about sales categories, etc. Resource categories.
But I always have to send the categories?
I think that if you do set up this one once, you're pretty good there, because eventually what you need is this tab. This one contains the actual usage information.
Yeah, so I need to send this one, right?
Well, you send the file, but if you create a template correct once, after that moment, you can start using, of course, reusing those tabs and only feed a new records tab.
Oh, so I always have to send all tabs?
Yes. Silly enough. So
okay.
let me give you an example of a file that I have prepared, because it's a lot of work to get it set up. Here we have the same one. We have a general tab, the categories you need, and the records you need. And here we have a file that is for the weather, for an application called weather count, where we define it in this case with weather count. The item name is the number of weather retrieves. what is the precision? The unit was clicks. The item precision is an integer. And we specify a quantity of number of hits, where we have the item ID is the product ID and the so the product is 603441248, and this one is the item number in that product, and it's a
Connect,
paper
right?
use.
This is that ID in Connect that we configure there, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Here we have the subscription for which this counts. Here we have the customer ID and the external ID of that customer, the customer name, the provider or distributor account that has this one. We have the vendor for this, for where this comes, and the vendor account name, Connect Champions for media commerce, blah, blah, blah. We have a product ID, media commerce training, production environment, hub IDs. So you see that this has a 0 hub ID. That means that this is a trial subscription. If I pick up this one, I want to have the product ID. So I'm going to copy this one so I can show you where it's from.
Yeah, just to understand, all this information, they are Connect information, right? Like subscription
This
ID
is
is the
all
subscription
Connect,
ID in Connect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to have all the Connect information in order to be able to collect the usage and send this information, not collect, but send the usage information to.
Yeah,
to Connect.
and it's only relevant for Connect because Connect will then make sure that it maps that information to the correct commerce stuff.
Got it. Oh shoot. Okay.
Yeah, usage is not the most charming part of our Connect platform, to be honest. So let me see. I'm going to go to products, and I'm going to filter on this
It was
ID.
so much easier in APS. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, this was absolutely. So this is that product where we have the items, pay as you go. Here it is. We have a reservation item. We've got the pay as you go stuff. We've got the product ID. The only thing that surprises me. That's strange. 603. Oh wait, it's that thing again. There is a weird delay in my platform because if I go for the product directory and I search media commerce training with that product ID, that is the correct one. The moment I clicked it, I ended up in my laptops for rent again. Looks like I have a weird delay. This is the one that I wanted. So I have an item here where we have a city limit with that 0001 and the pay-as-you-go item with that 0002 part at the end, right? And that is what I wanted to show you. If you look at the product ID and the item IDs, they're the same except for that last part. So theoretically, you can only have 9,999 items per product, because that is the place that we have reserved for that. But this is exactly that same thing. Oh, let me switch this one a little bit this way. So here you see that it's the PRD 60344124800T2. If you look at the unit of measure, it measures in clicks. So in this file, where is it? I saw the clicks somewhere. Here we are. The item unit is clicks. So you have to have that one correct as well. And how it happens through to commerce is now up to the PLM part, where that will extract that file or the records. I'm not even sure how it does that into the commerce environment. But you see, it's not as obvious as it seems. It's not, hey, we've got a file, you upload it and you're done. You have to construct it with the appropriate categories, with the appropriate records. You have to define those categories. Let me go back to my normalized file. Here we go.
Well, wait, these categories are not the same as the categories that we have in CVC then. They are connect categories, let's say.
Category ID is hits. I know in this case, it is the number of hits in, where is my categories? Let me go there. Because I don't have categories in commerce, sorry, in Connect.
Yes. So those are categories from CBC.
Yeah.
Or those are categories
CBC.
that you just put your file. They're CBC categories.
No, that cannot be. Let me verify that. They cannot be CBC categories.
Yeah. I was confused because everything is Connect. I'm missing in Connect that search box, you know, we have in PCP, where you just put the name of the.
Definitely true. Definitely true.
So easier to find stuff that way.
Unit clicks. General, it's the clicks, the number of weather retrieves, and the instructions say about the categories. Refer category of the item in the records tab.
Maybe it's just something for the file, you know?
Yeah. But I'm thinking about, oh, wait a sec. Category ID. Where's my category ID? Here we are, hits. So what we define here, where we have let me put it on screen for you. What we have here, category ID, we can give it a name and we can have a description, is what we see in column M here, where we know that this quantity is related to the number of weather retrieves here, and that it should be an integer value. That's
maybe it's just a way to validate the information that is in another tab, you know?
Yeah.
It's just some sort of
It's
relationship.
a cross check. It is a cross check.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's a cross check. This is hit. That means it's numeric integer. This is more precision, so it has a different category.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Yeah. But you see, it's not that obvious. It takes 2, 3, 4 tries to get it right. Let me go back to my
Like that.
vendor. Where is my vendor? Where is my vendor? Here is my vendor. There we are. I have too many windows open, so it was hiding on my different screen. The moment I upload a file, I drag it here or I browse. Let's do that later. It will show here as uploaded. It's going to process it. If it is format correct, it will show as validated. if it's validated, it will also show up at the, and let me go there. If I already see it here, at the distributor side, let me go to usage, because here we have it too. Products, usage. Oh, there it is already. I'm too slow or too fast. Here we see more of those. We see that at the moment it has been validated, it goes to pending state. If it's in pending state, it shows up at the distributor side. And there, the distributor can either handle it through automation. With automation, I mean PLM in commerce. So it just sees something in pending, it accepts it, it processes it, and it closes if everything has been processed. If I do it manual, I can also download that file and put it in manually and then accept and close that file that I have processed it.
So the distributor needs to approve it. Is that it?
The distributor needs to accept the file, which means, hey, I can actually read it.
Oh, got it.
And because I could have a file that is working on my side, but I, as a distributor, can still not read it correct. And it will not process in my commerce environment. It's vital that the vendor knows about that. That's why you have those extra statuses there. If it stays in pending state, it means that, hey, either the automation on the distributor side isn't working, so I have to call them. Guys, we uploaded that usage, can process it. From the other side, if I'm not getting a pending usage file as a distributor at a date there where I expected, let's say we do weekly usage files, and on Monday I should receive it and I didn't, I can call my vendor and say, hey, we are ready to bill our customer, but we don't have the usage yet. So that is why all those things are set there. When do we close it? When, let's say, the marketplace itself, in this case CBC, has processed and billed the customer for it. That's why we see a lot closed and a couple of accepted ones here. If I go to a weather demo file that I have, was it this one? Usage files, here we have one. This is a preview. This one has not been uploaded. Here I see a file that was uploaded, but that was wrong, cannot be used because of errors. You can download the processed usage file, so this is the one, and see what is wrong. It will tell me, let's save this on the desktop. This is UF processed 2003, 2022, 3/28/20. Okay. Let's open that one, processed. UF, here they are. That's the one. Here we have it. General, here we see a status. It's invalid. And if we go to the categories, nothing there. If we go to the records, we see that there are errors in this one. It cannot find that asset and that start date, which means that this record is invalid. It will show you with highlighted red fields what was wrong in the in this specific file. So I fix it, I upload it again, re-upload a new file, and hope that it goes to validate it. We've got another one that is pending. This one has been uploaded, has been validated. is pending, but is not processed by the marketplace yet. So let's see if I can find this usage file, copy, at the distributor side. Filter, Control V, close, probably too late to do that, yeah. Because this one was from 2021. Weather application vendor, let's go back here. We've got our usage files with the different statuses. These are the last one. This one is pending. Distribution contract for that. Created, uploaded, submitted, ready, and now this is a preview. I can accept the report here. Oh, this is a test. This is just, I created this one, now I remember. Of course, since you want to test your product as well with your subscriptions, test subscriptions, you can also test your usage report if they are fully functional. Tell me, Ana Paula.
It's in a related question, actually. I saw that you were exchanging between accounts from the distributor to the vendor,
Yeah.
right? But you're in the same user. Is that it? Same user,
Yeah.
different accounts?
Yeah, that's why I.
So that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So now we have an accepted here. And as you see, since this is a preview, I can also mark it as closed. Internal vendor purposes. So that is where I would start anyway. But those are the steps. And as we've seen, it's not completely obvious and clear how this would work. It seems like a simple thing. It's not. Creating the records as well. Let me go in there. Be aware that this file starts with record ID 2. Why is that? Because record ID 1 has been used in a previous item. So you for this specific user. So you also have to keep track of what the last record ID for a specific customer has been. I didn't know that. So the first time I was demoing this with a commerce environment behind it, I just changed the dates. I uploaded it and it said, hey, this record ID already exists. So what it does, it stores this information. It reads this from the Excel and it stores that information and processes it towards a specific database or file format, or I'm not 100% sure. They were not telling us. But this is a new record because it's a new line item to build a customer for. So be aware that record IDs need to be unique as well. Having said that, let me go back to my PowerPoint and look at what I haven't told about. So we have the order flow going from left to right. Sorry, from right to left. And then the usage flow, of course, going from left to right. I hope that is clear. And that is a recurring scenario. The order might go once, but the usage data goes in both directions. Having said that, I think that that is the last part that I wanted to do. What questions do you have so far? I know that the usage part is very complex. It requires, I would almost say, some playing around with. Make sure you get your trial environment before you start playing in a real vendor environment. That for me has worked. That means you can keep things separate. That means you don't pollute your business environment. Make sure you get your trial playground where from the distributor you're invited. Use a separate, I would almost say use a separate email address to really keep it clean, so you don't have things like I have here, where I have 2 pages of accounts that I have to toggle between. For the rest, if you have more questions that come up on Friday, we have another session where I will start with my usual question.
No, I'm good, and thank you a lot for thanks a lot for all the patience you had with me today.
No problem, no problem.
As usual.
Thanks, guys.
I'm the questiony person of this training.
Any other questions? If not, can you give me a thumbs up? All right. Thanks, Ana Paula. Thanks, guys. The rest. And see you guys on Friday. Have a great.
See you when I see you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.